Somewhere in Time is my favorite Iron Maiden album, and it's just absolutely crazy to think that this year we're going to be celebrating its 40th anniversary. As a guitar player, I think that this album features some of Dave Murray and Adrian Smith's very best and most creative guitar work, and their solos on the opening track are just a perfect example of that. I did a deep dive into Dave Murray's solo a few weeks ago, so now it's time to take a closer look at Adrian's. Now, many consider Somewhere in Time to be Adrian's album, and even if it's not entirely accurate, he did play a very important role in its overall sound and feel. He wrote 3 of the album's 8 songs, and his ideas kind of shifted the whole record into a much more melodic direction. His lead playing was evolving with a tighter technique and more intricate and sophisticated phrasing ideas. His creative juices were flowing, and he was surely aware of the influence that the new shredders had on heavy metal music, so he clearly knew that he had to kind of outdo himself. That's why I find it so fascinating to study his work on this album, like this magnificent solo from the opening track. So of course, Adrian's solo just complements Dave Murray's perfectly, but whereas Dave Murray uses a lot of fast legato patterns and motifs that descend or ascend diatonically, Adrian's solo is made up in large part of simple scalar phrases that aren't particularly fast. So why do so many fans consider it one of Adrian's best? Well, it's actually a combination of some very important elements: strong melodic motifs, perfect pacing, and the unique phrasing of simple, almost basic lines. It sounds like the kind of thing that you'd expect from any solo, but the degree to which these things coexist in this one just makes it extra memorable. Another big factor is the accompaniment, which is a lot simpler and more open than the one behind Dave's solo. It's 2 sets of 4 whole note chords, so Adrian has basically 2 different frames to work with and develop his melodic ideas. Then there is one last section where things get pretty crazy. They get busier and more intense before returning to the uniquely catchy melody of the main riff. So let's start with a quick look at that accompaniment, and then we'll get to how Adrian solos over that. So as I just mentioned, there are 3 sections, and the first 2 are just whole note chords in the key of E minor. So in the first section, the chord progression is E, G, C, E, G, D, and that's played twice. And of course, these are all power chords, so they're neither major nor minor. The second section is only half as long as the first, and here the chords change to E, G, F sharp, I think it's actually a D over F sharp, and A, and that's played twice as well. So what's interesting here is that there are 2 consecutive minor third jumps. So this makes the progression feel something like running upstairs 2 at a time. It's a simple compositional technique that just creates a ton of momentum. In the third and final section of the solo, the tonal center moves to B, and the mood just changes completely. I just love the intensity that this change creates. It's like a dark, ominous cloud descending suddenly. And that's because they're using some rather unusual intervals. So this is called the Locrian mode, and it's a really tense sounding scale with all minor intervals and a diminished fifth. In the context of a major scale, which is what the basic modes are built on, the only unaltered interval in the Locrian mode is the perfect fourth. It's a killer riff and a brilliant way to end the solo. Okay, now let's look at Adrian's little masterpiece over that excellent accompaniment. So he opens the solo with this, by now, iconic phrase. So we have a bend and release from A to B and a pull off back to A with some whammy bar vibrato on top to make it more expressive, giving it an almost vocal-like quality. That connects to a descending E minor scale ending on G, the minor third. And that note lands on the C chord, so it's the fifth of that chord and it sounds so majestic. Also, the pinch harmonic on the second note is a fantastic way to make a simple scale run stand out. And leave it to Adrian to make the most basic thing sound like something that's going to stick in your mind forever. Now, the last part of this opening statement is this inverted E power chord in the upper register, followed by a descending melodic line that ends on D over a D power chord. So this doubles down on that majestic feel and it has a real sense of stability and serenity. Now, this second phrase might be the most challenging one to play properly. In essence, it's just a simple ascending neighbor sequence. So you play a note, then the one just before, back to that note again, and then you do the same thing ascending across the scale. This is a great way to build momentum. But what makes it sound particularly catchy when Adrian plays it is the way that it's phrased. So he's alternating between pick notes and hammer-ons and pull-offs. It's also what makes it a bit tricky to play cleanly because you're switching between inside and outside picking with hammer-ons and pull-offs in between, all triplets at 175 beats per minute and a high gain tone. So it's not super fast, but it is so easy to get tripped up or have string noise if you're not precise with your hand coordination and your muting. So this sequence ends on an E, which is the major third of the C chord that it lands on. So after the intense buildup of the ascending run, that major third sounds like a very uplifting resolution. The last phrase in the first section is this descending trill that Adrian performs as pick edge tapping, and that turns into another descending E minor scale, kind of similar to what he played in the opening phrase. This is one of those licks that sound fast but are actually super simple to do. So you're just tapping quickly with the edge of your pick on the 20th fret of the B string, while your left hand moves the lower note down diatonically from F sharp to C. And from that C, you then complete the phrase with this descending line. Now, the tricky thing with this one is, once again, the muting, because it's so easy to get unwanted string noise as you descend, and also to transition quickly and smoothly from tapping to picking. Once again, Adrian ends with a D over the D chord to give a sense of stability at the end of the loop. If you'd like to explore Adrian's playing style more in depth and get a real sense of exactly what it is that he's doing in his riffs and solos, you're going to love what I'm about to share with you. It's called The H Factor, and it's a complete masterclass on Adrian Smith's playing style. So I structured it as an online course with over an hour of material that you could follow at your own pace. I cover all of the essentials: sound settings, picking, muting, vibrato, embellishments, scales, and an in-depth explanation of some of Adrian's signature phrases. The course ends with an Adrian Smith style solo that combines all of those key elements so that you could put it all together and understand how to incorporate some Adrianisms into your own playing naturally, without sounding like a copycat or a wannabe, because nobody likes a wannabe. To access the course, just go to licksofthebeast.com/courses. And I have to tell you, I'm really excited, and I'm also very relieved because this course is the result of a whole lot of time and effort. I started working on it over a year ago, and I tried to make the kind of course that I would have wanted back when I was learning all of this stuff, because it would have saved me a lot of time and a lot of headaches trying to figure it all out on my own. So the course is available as of right now, and I'm doing a launch special of just $49 until Friday, May 8th. After that, it'll be the regular price of $79. Still a steal considering how much material you get. And if you've been watching my videos for some time, you know that I like to go beyond the how and also get into the why of things, because as in all things, context is key. So once again, go to licksofthebeast.com/courses to get started. Now we get to the second section where things start to open up with that stepstone ascending chord progression. And Adrian emphasizes that with some really clever phrasing. First, with his circular old school classic rock lick played on the top two strings. So this lick is about as simple as it gets, but that doesn't mean that it's easy to play correctly. If you're not very experienced with this type of lick, there's actually a bit more going on than you might think. So just from a technical standpoint, you have a quick repeating sequence of a precise whole step bend, string crossing, inside picking, and a pull off, all on two adjacent strings. And this has to be done smoothly, precisely, and with minimal string noise for 3 consecutive bars. So not exactly easy. Now from there, Adrian goes into this ascending 8th note run, once again based on the minor scale. This run sort of paraphrases a lick that Dave Murray played in his solo. Adrian does this every so often, and I think it's one of those things that make Dave and Adrian such an iconic lead guitar team, but it often goes unnoticed. It's more something that people might pick up on subconsciously, and you'll often hear things like, I don't know what it is, but Smith and Murray always complemented each other's solos so perfectly. So that phrase ends with a symmetrical descent along the same lines. Okay, now one important thing I want to point out is how Adrian's note subdivisions aren't always precise. So he staggers them a bit so that in a phrase made up entirely of eighth notes, some parts might sound a bit rushed or dragged, depending on the feel that he wants to convey. That takes us to the final section of the solo. Now this is played over that ominous B Locrian riff, and with an accompaniment that's so busy with many fast notes and odd intervals, Adrian's not going to try to play melodically, because that would just be overkill. Instead, he's going for lines that sound cool, playing off of that ominous tense vibe. So basically that's another tapped trill with a pick edge, except this time it's the opposite motion, right? So the lower note stays constant as F sharp, and the higher tap note ascends chromatically from G to A. And that B chord with the dive is just so badass here, and it's the same idea as the start of his Seventh Son solo. And finally, that deliberately paced, chromatic, tapped lick to finish in the coolest, most Adrian way possible. Like I said earlier, these are mostly simple scalar phrases, and they're not very fast. There aren't any licks where the articulation might be particularly challenging, or maybe where the speed might be too much for an intermediate level player. But what you do need to watch out for when playing this one is your control of the instrument and your timing. And realistically, those are the things that people pick up on whenever they hear a pro level player. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers.